Hey guys, Mike here from Keats Woodworks. Hey, thanks for tuning in. So a friend of mine asked me to build him a farm-style coffee bar, which is what we have right here. And it comes, as you can see, with an open space for a mini fridge, a couple shelves there to put some stuff on. Has that classic white body with the dark stained top. Came out super nice, and it was a great project, and I want to show you how we got it done. So check it out. So the first thing I did was basically took some basic 2x4 stock over to the table saw and ripped off the edges. And I'm only taking off about an eighth, maybe 3/16 of an inch here, just getting that rounded edge off and getting a really nice 90-degree edge. And then over to the miter saw, set the stop block in place, the right measurement, and then just run those through for several repeated cuts, all the same length. And it makes for some real quick, efficient work. And then it was time to make the pieces that will join the legs together. So I'm making my own 2x stock here. And I used to buy this stuff already made at the big box store, but honestly, I never could find straight ones. They're all twisted, warped, and bent, and so I decided to start making them myself. So not too hard to do. So then once I got all those cut to length and everything, I just had to start running a whole bunch of pocket holes. And so yeah, I'm using a much older Craig jig here for that, but it is what I have right now, and honestly it does work just fine. It makes for a little bit slower work, but it works fine. I wanted to show you guys what I've done to the bench just to make it a little bit more efficient for me, so I can actually move my saw down and give myself a little bit more workspace. The big hole that you see there where it goes, I actually have made since then a little insert that goes in there and gives me a little more solid surface. But back to the project. Here I am putting a leg together, and real simple, just glue up the ends, I clamp it in place, and drive the screws in. Of course the squares in there just to make sure that everything is 90 degrees, and real simple work. I am doing this on the top here, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the bottom. You see the pocket holes in the top piece. Once the lid goes on this coffee bar, you will not see those pocket holes, so it's fine. The bottom, all I'm doing is the same thing, glue, clamp, and screws. I am using some scrap 2x to get my spacing on the bottom, just a 1.5 inch gap on the bottom, and had to do that 3 times for 3 legs. Once I got all of those done, it was time to attach the pieces, the 2x stock I made, to attach them all together. And here again, I'm putting the pocket hole up. That will go under the top. You'll never see it, so it'll make for a nice clean joint. Just hold those in place, put a little glue on there, and screw them in there. And then it was time to join the legs together. So again, same drill. Just put a little glue on each end, put the clamps on there, clamp it up, get everything nice and snug, and then drive the screws. And again, they'll all be hidden with the top. So here I'm just kind of showing you how I made the pieces that go in the other side for the shelves. And this is 2x stock, again spacing it out with the 1.5 inch gap there, glue, clamp, screw it, clean it up, and get all the excess glue off there, wipe it down. You see all those pocket holes? I actually plugged all of those so that it makes everything nice and smooth and good looking. Here I'm just showing you one more time the middle shelf and how I did that as well. And so we put all those in there and got it all glued, clamped, screwed in place. How I made the shelves was out of 3/4 inch plywood. I cut them to about as exact measurements as I possibly could, and then basically ran pocket holes all the way around it. And when I put it in place, clamped it in place, and then drove the pocket holes in, and it finished off really nice. Of course, once you do that, you definitely have to clean up after yourself, because those pocket holes, the Craig pocket hole jig just makes a mess, and we all love a clean workspace, right? So here, after I got the frame assembled, I just took my little rigid trim router, and man, I love this tool. It's one of the greatest additions to my tools. Just doing a little round over edge, all those 90 degrees I cut earlier, and of course they'll get hand sanded to make for a really nice rounded finish. To make the farmhouse X's, I just basically ran some of that 2x stock through the router table. And here I'm going to show you kind of how I made those. This one was already cut, but basically you just lay it up there, line the corners or the lines where you want them to land, and then just score your line, take it to your miter saw, and take the cut. Here I'm going to make the pieces that are actually cut in between. Some people notch them, but it's not for structural purposes, it's just aesthetics, so I think it's fine to cut them, glue them, and put nails in them. But you just clamp it together, take your pencil, mark your line, and then take that over to the miter saw. And it's not always the same angle, so you just kind of have to just, play with it, get your angle just right, and then make your cut. I always make my cut about a blade width longer or wider or extra, and because I'm going to do this right here, I'm going to take it over and use my little belt sander, and I am going to try to just get it dialed in just right to have a really nice snug tight joint. And the way I join those is I glue them and then shoot a finish nail in them. So here I'm showing you how I prepped the top of the coffee bar, and basically just already lined up the boards in the order that I wanted them, based on wood grain and how they matched and so forth, and then just ran a whole bunch of pocket holes. Really slow, tedious process, but it worked out fine. And here it was time to assemble them together, screw them together, and at this time I only had 2 pipe clamps. Since then I've expanded a few more, or added a few more, and most of the time nowadays I do glue up tops anyway and don't use a lot of pocket holes in my tops. But for this job it was perfect and worked out real well. And basically all I'm doing, once I get it all clamped in, it's level, it's flush, top clamp as well, and then on the ends you can see the black clamps on the ends with the board there, keeping everything nice and tight and flush. And then it's just run the screws in probably one of the most methodical ways you can. So then took the rigid trim router again with the round over bit to the top and made some really nice rounded edges. Here I'm taking a biscuit joiner and just cutting a groove or slot in that top 2x stock. And that's going to be for how I mount the top. I'll show you that here shortly. So once I got the top all screwed together and trimmed up, it was time to stain it. So I'm just showing you what I do here. I always start with the bottom. So this is the bottom of the top, and I just sponge it on, wipe it off. And then when I get ready to flip it over, I use these little painter tents and set it up on those, let some air get to that bottom. This top's been sanded with about 3 or 4 different grits, really smooth. It's been conditioned with stain conditioner, and then I use these little 3-inch foam brushes, apply a good liberal coating of the stain, and then just wipe it off. And so just do that a couple at a time here, just so it doesn't get all hot and sticky or dry real quick. And this is just a stock Minwax color. It's an espresso color, and first time I ever used this color, and it's become one of my favorites. Came out really super nice. Here I'm going to show you how I attach the top to the frame. All I do is just mark the halfway point on every edge on the top, underneath of course the bottom, and then do the exact same thing on the frame. And when I make the mark on the frame, I do it on the inside edge, just a small little dot, and then I just line up my marks. And that way I don't have to do, an 1/8 of an inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side and just go around back and forth with the tape measure. It just lines up perfectly every time. And so I just recommend that. And then here's how or why I use the slot for the biscuit joiner device or tool. And I just use these little table clamps, put it in the slot, screw it down, and that holds it in place and allows it to move as well. I also put floor levelers in this project. I'll put a link in the description for that video. Here's the finished product. Came out really nice. I want to give a big shout out to Tim over at Casual Builds. That's where I got the idea from. Here's the item in context. Hope you guys liked what you saw. There's a couple of places you can find me. Give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for future videos. Thank you guys for watching.